Welcome back into the Now Morning Show. Hope you're having a great morning so far, the 29th day of November. But we head across to Tobago, even though it is Wednesday, because it's Trinidad and Tobago, and we can celebrate Tobago any day, not just on Thursdays. And this morning, I want to chat with Sophia Cooper, who's a special program coordinator at the Assembly Legislature of the THA. She joined us actually by a phone line this morning to have this conversation because Tobago Day debate is coming up tomorrow. It's the annual debate, and we welcome Sophia. Good morning to you, Sophia.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Not a problem at all. So, we have a couple of things that we're going to chat about this morning. But first of all, the Tobago Day debate is happening tomorrow. Can you give us a little breakdown historically of what the Tobago Day debate is all about?
Right, so it starts at 10 a.m., and where the Assembly Chamber is located, it's uptown, Jerningham Street. So if you're coming to watch James Park, you look right up, and there's the building. Now, the idea behind the Tobago Day debate is to give students an opportunity to participate in this conversation about what Tobago Day means. And so the motion asks that the House decides whether or not Tobago Day should be a national holiday. And I expect that the students are going to come with very diverse points of views that we can discuss what that means. Because essentially, Tobago Day marks the day the Tobago House of Assembly was inaugurated in 1980. And through that inauguration, the Tobago House of Assembly Legislature discussed through another debate what that means, having activities. And so even though the debate is tomorrow, there's a full list of activities between Thursday and December 4th.
All right. Now, I find it very interesting, the topic in particular. Who decides on what the topic is that will be debated?
The Assembly Legislature. So just like Parliament, we have members of the different constituencies who are voted into power sit in their plenary sessions, just like you will have members of Parliament who would have their debates. Now, all of that will go through the offices of the Assembly Legislature. And so the Tobago Day debate involves secondary school students, and the motion is selected by the Assembly Legislature deliberately to provoke conversations about what is happening in the Tobago space. But it's Trinidad and Tobago. And so it was this idea of how do we extend the conversation so that it becomes a national one.
Okay. And by extending the conversation, we include things like the autonomy, we include things like whether there can be a Trinidad Day, if there's a Tobago Day, et cetera, et cetera.
There you go. Precisely.
All right. I understand. So how do you propose that students prepare for such a debate?
Usually we have them come in, we teach them parliamentary procedures, we dig deep in Tobago's legislative history. We also bring people in who might be experts on the particular topic, and then we allow the students to have a conversation as they look at whether or not they themselves agree with the motion or disagree with the motion, and then we take it from there. So it really is an opportunity to give young people a voice, and yes, they might not be old enough to vote, but they're old enough to understand what the conversations are when voting takes place every 4 years for the THA elections and every 5 years for national elections.
Indeed. But my question is, after these young people bring forward their points, be it for or against, who's listening? Who's taking it into consideration and what the next steps are, if any?
Excellent question. So we invite the members, all the members in Tobago, from all the constituencies to view the sitting. And so what we have is a connection to those who are in seat of power, where they can listen to young people and take action based on their point of view. Now, this has been going on consistently for the last 10 years. We've had in the past, but consistently. So what we have is a culture of conversation to the point where we now have a Tobago Youth Assembly. Young people voted in by their peers between the ages of 15 and 18 who run their own sitting. And those people, some of them, come up through the Tobago Day debate. And it's only through the training that they see the importance of being involved. And I think sometimes when people talk about being a politician, it sounds, might sound negative because people have a lot of bad things to say. But by going through the training, they see that to be a representative involves more than just what you see on TV. It's about people and speaking up for those who can't speak for themselves. It's about protecting your community and seeking ways to fill the gap when there's a need. So all of that is covered when we have the training for the Tobago Day debate.
Completely understand. Okay. All right. So I look forward to, but how can people, are the public allowed, is the public allowed to view this debate as well, or is it strictly in closed quarters?
No, definitely everyone. Everything that happens at the Assembly Legislature chamber becomes part of the public space. It's actually required by law. So even if it's a regular plenary sitting, it's a Tobago Day sitting with students or International Women's Day sitting, we've launched something called the People's House. So we have senior citizens debating issues that they are concerned with. All of that recorded by our Hansard division. And in addition to that, it's always shown live. So if you can't come in person at 10 a.m., you could view us live on our socials as well as other media platforms.
Well, that's fantastic. You have an idea of how many schools are partaking in this debate?
Every single secondary school in Tobago, and that's something that we attempt to provide every year because we can't choose if we're supposed to make an impact. And so we work very hard with the 9 secondary schools on the island that they send at least 2 representatives. And I could tell you that some schools send as many as 4. And so we try to accommodate as many students as possible, especially during the training, because for us, it's not just about the day.
Yeah.
They have to learn what it means to be part of this conversation and the space that is called Tobago, and by extension, the country Trinidad and Tobago. And you can't have that if we don't have the training session. So yes, all secondary schools on the island will be participating in the Tobago Day debate.
That's fantastic. And I love that we can actually see the results of it, because over the years, we've seen more conversation around politics happening in Tobago with young people, and they're getting involved in not just the which party you're voting for that, but actually, running the country, actually the law, the legislature, and seeing the different aspects of it. So I applaud the work that you guys have been doing. We can see the results of it, and congratulations on it for the work that you've been doing and the work that's still to come. But I also understand that, we need a new design for the legislature complex as well.
Definitely. And so people should go on our Facebook page, Tobago House of Assembly Legislature, on our website, tobagolegislature.org. And you could come in person at the Assembly Legislature to vote, look at the designs. It's at Shaw Park Complex as well. We want everybody of every age, because for us at the Assembly Legislature, our motto is engage and educate at all levels. So we want everybody to vote.
Right. Now, I want to get into a bit of this because, we were chatting a bit off air, and you were telling me the reason for, wanting a new design in the first place. Can you mind sharing that with the public?
Sure. So in 1825, the building was completed. It was considered one of the best examples of Georgian architecture in the region. No, that was 1825, so we've outgrown the space. In 2025, this building would be 200 years old, and it would be the oldest still functioning legislative building in the country. So the idea is that we need to preserve that as something that we should cherish. So the existing building will remain. What we're doing is extending or expanding the complex, adding space, whether it is to make renovations to the annex that adjoins this building, or to our left on Jerningham Street, to include additional office spaces, to move the chamber, to have special spaces for the minority or the majority for them to meet, etc. All those things, we've outgrown the current space. And so it's important for us, 1, to preserve what we have. It's 200 years old. And 2, to accommodate our growing democracy and ensure that members of the public can be proud of that. And that's why we want them to vote.
And is it that the winning design is based strictly on the votes? Or because, for me, I look at it and I see the different designs, and yeah, we can vote on just what we see on the outside, but how do we determine what which one actually takes up the best use of the office space or the space, the
Well,
additional space that is required?
Well, you see, that is the beautiful thing about it. We can't get any further with the designs if we don't have feedback from the public. That's the starting point. So we have to give people something that they can see and say whether or not they like it, and then take it from there. We can't have a space that is the seat of democracy in Tobago and don't include people in making that decision. So that's where we start. People vote, tell us what you like. And if it is that you don't like any, tell us that as well. So that factors into how we move forward.
Okay, so I mean, let's go with me here. I'm being devil's advocate. If we get people
Sure.
saying, if we get the majority of people saying, well, we don't like any of these designs because maybe, let's say, you're putting too much modern architecture into what is 200 years old, and we want something that kind of adds to the aesthetic of what existed before. What would then be the approach?
But then that's something that we now have to go back to the drawing board. And I'll tell you that for us, we've had annual study tours to go to other parts of the world that uses a similar Westminster system of government. With these same students, we then look at the main parliament, and a parliament would devolve forward. So let's say the UK Parliament and the Scottish Parliament. And so that gives us an idea of what legislatures around the world are doing. These legislatures are older than ours, but they also have modern elements because they too have outgrown their space. And so, as I said, we're preserving what we have, but we're also taking into consideration what the needs are today. Our building is made with limestone, brick by brick. So when we ask a contractor to give us something exactly like we have now, we have to consider what are the materials that are available. So all those things are elements into what goes into this design, and hopefully we can have the majority of people saying, okay, this is the one I like.
Right. And in terms of the design, do we have an idea as to who designed the various ones? Is that going to be listed as well? And the cost of putting together these designs, is that going to be listed with each design as well?
At the moment, it's just the design. At the moment, it's just the design. So, as I said, it's the starting point. And yes, those are valid questions. And somebody might say, well, I don't want to vote on something that seems too expensive. But that at this moment in time, all the designs, all the drawings were given the same scope of work. And so that isn't even something that is part of the decision-making at the moment, because all the designs were done by companies who were given the same scope of work.
All right. So, but as all local companies that pitch these designs?
National. So it's across the board.
Nice. Well, we love to see that. Tell people how they can vote. Just remind them, just so that they're all aware.
Right. So on our social media pages, which is our Tobago House of Assembly Legislature page on Facebook, our website, which is tobagolegislature.org. You can come in person, Jerningham Street, where the Assembly Legislature building is located, and vote in person. We have the designs beautifully laid out and the forms ready. You can also vote in person at the Shaw Park complex, where the designs are also put out for you to walk in and scrutinize at your leisure, and then you vote.
And is there a cutoff date for when we can vote?
It's every day this week, 10 to 5, so you have until Friday.
And it's just until Friday this week?
Just until Friday, unless there is something that indicates that there is need to review that. That is the cutoff point.
All right, fantastic.
So we've been pushing it since Monday, and so the duration is really Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Right.
So it was an entire working week that they had to vote.
All right, fantastic. And you said after Friday, what would be the next step?
After Friday, then it goes back to the company that is responsible for dealing with this process. So although the Assembly Legislature is going to benefit from the designs, it's just like everything else is a tendering process.
Right.
And so that is going to be handled by the company that is responsible for that, which is EACOT.
Ah, okay, fantastic. So then it goes back to Unicott, and then we take the next step after we get the results from the voting.
It cuts, correct.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, Ms. Cooper, and for sharing the information. And I know that we're celebrating a Tobago Day on December 4th, so I hope that we can have some more conversation about it in the next week as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
That's Sophia Cooper, Special Program Coordinator at the Assembly Legislature at the Tobago House of Assembly, just sharing some information about the Tobago Day debate that's coming up for students tomorrow, and of course the complex design that's ongoing until Friday this week, and you can definitely head across to their Facebook page to take part in it, or you can head across to the Shore Park where you can scrutinize the images and vote as you see fit. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, I want you to get ready to give us a phone call because we're taking your calls next. Stay tuned. It's Now Morning Show.